ChildLink is a Guyanese society where every child has the right to grow up in a safe and secure family and community. As Morano said, today's conversation centers around bridging gaps and building bonds with migrant families as we draw insights from one of our partners from a community-based organization. This discussion is under our Communities Responding In Emergencies project, which is funded by the Delegation of the European Union in Guyana. And we have with us this morning Mr. Persaud from Educator's CRIE. I will hand the mic over to him. As you know, he does his little introduction, who he is and what's he about at his communities organization. Mr. Persaud?
Hey, good morning, and thank you for having me. Good morning to everyone. So I am Askah Persaud. I am one of the executive member and co-founder of Educator's CRIE. And what is Educator's CRIE, or what Educator's CRIE does, you may ask? So Educator's CRIE is a registered friendly society, which aims to foster cognitive development and psychosocial support by providing individual attention to students and by enhancing literacy and numeracy skills among our children and by extension their parents. At Educator's CRIE, it is our vision to empower communities through education and collaboration, fostering partnership and other civil society organizations and agencies to create a harmonious society. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Akash. And it's good to have you on board today as we continue these discussions, bridging gaps and building bonds with migrant families, the insights from a community-based organization. And we are very happy to learn more about Educator's CRIE. Tell us a little bit now about your partnership with ChildLink. How did this start and what has been happening since you've established this relationship or a partnership?
Certainly. So our collaboration with ChildLink has been pivotal, especially during the pandemic peak. Our role with ChildLink involved extending educational services to the migrant population and vulnerable population and addressing specific community needs. Our participation in the CRIE project started during the pandemic. We collaborated closely with ChildLink in community mapping, in supporting migrant families, offering Spanish to English classes, organizing Christmas and other event parties for the migrant population or children on the CDAM, distributing hampers and from other stakeholders along with ChildLink, and assisting with the documentation and translation of services and for the migrant the migrant population, allowing them to, live comfortably like everyone should.
Mm-hmm. All right. How do you identify or reach out to these families within your particular community, and how many clients are you working with at this time?
Right. So, excellent question. So, we Educators CRIE functions in the Diamond Grove vicinity,
Mm-hmm.
and our migrant population is mostly from the Diamond Grove CDAM area.
Mm-hmm.
That stretches all the way from Grove to behind Courts at Diamond. And what we did from the inception was to walk through the entire CDAM, mapping out what are some needs, doing some assessments, and doing some risk management also. So that's how we know where to go, who to work with, and what are some of the things that is of importance or essential for their well-being.
Mm-hmm.
To date, starting in 2020, we would have worked with over 500 families on the CDAM, 500 persons and 50 families. We know that some of their movements may be nomadic, so some of our families may have gone back to Venezuela, or they would have been located elsewhere, given lots and houses by the government, which Educators CRIE played a pivotal role in.
Mm-hmm. All right, so that's a huge number there. 500 persons, 50 families. That's a really great figure. You know, some people might think, oh, it's just a very small number, but it certainly is a huge number to be working with. Now, as you reach out to these people there along the sea dam area, which you mentioned, I was trying to visualize in my head how long of a stretch that is, and it is certainly a large stretch of area. Let's talk about specific services that your organization might be providing. You went slightly or briefly into them in your introduction, but let's go into specific things that you probably on a daily basis or a weekly basis, or however is it that you reach out in terms of services that your organization is providing. Let's talk about that a bit.
Great, no problem. So one of the main things we have going right now for our migrant population and vulnerable population identified in the Diamond Grove area is our Saturday classes, which is the Spanish to English classes with the migrants. Currently, we're having a class of 25 migrant children, and that those classes are being conducted on the CDAM, where they are engaged in learning materials and the use of technology and all the good things education. We also assist them being the migrants, in acquiring their ED cards, getting jobs, employment, advocate for their health checkups at the hospital and the health centers. We also have psychological services available. We have medical services available where we collaborate with Dr. Eden from the GPHC that comes in a few times in a month, and just do a walkthrough with us to see if there's anything that she can assist with. And most times she does more than assist. We also have workshops, crafted for migrants that will learn. They should learn a skill from, whether it's cooking, crafts. We also have parenting sessions, planned parenting sessions. We also have a church that we would have helped build on the CDAM to foster that, that community that we have with the migrants, a sense of community and belonging, and that is doing good for them too.
All right. You mentioned a little bit of sessions or workshops for training and things like that. Let us talk a little bit about how those have been received, and what's the response been like from your clients, and what are the training sessions that you might have, if any at all?
All right. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
So what we had trainings in two folds: trainings to the service providers in the community and training with our migrant population. Training so that the service providers can be more receptive to our migrant population and destigmatize the population to an extent. And the training that we did with our migrants is in the line of planned parenting, mental health awareness, gender-based violence, child labor, and along those lines. And to say that they were well received would be an understatement, because we've seen so many changes in the way that they operate, the way that they carry themselves, and the way that they, demand certain things that should be given to them without a say.
Okay. All right. It's 10:41, and just in case you're now tuning in, this is 93.1 Real FM, the People's Choice. It's Tuesday morning, the 6th of February, 2024, and today we are having a conversation with ChildLink Guyana. We continue the series of discussions on bridging gaps and building bonds with migrant families. Over the past few weeks, we have been meeting various community-based organizations, and they have been sharing with us the work that they're doing. I think the last two programs we had two from the West Bank and West Coast of the Marara areas, the West Side. They talked a little bit about the work that they were doing, and and some of their success stories, which we'll come to later on, for Akash, who is from Educator's Pride. His organization is in the Diamond Grove area on the east bank of the Marara, and they have been working with the migrant community in that area. And so he's bringing us up to date with what they have achieved, what they are doing, and now we're going to talk a little bit about partnerships, Akash, with your medical resources. Let's talk a little bit more about education services and food distribution and things like that. How is that coming along?
All right, so of course, nothing comes just like that or easy. There, we have been very persistent um, in our adventure to seek uh, donations, even assistance for migrant population. And I want to say it from 2020 to now, we are in a much better place, and our migrant population and much a better place. So we would have collaborated with the Ministry of Education to have over 250 learners either reinstated or reintegrated into schools. Those numbers may not be currently reflective of our school system because, as mentioned, they are very nomadic. Some
Nomadic,
of them,
yes.
they gone back to Venezuela or they moved up the East Coast or up the highway. Um, we would have collaborated with local businesses in Diamond Grove to have hampers created for elderly migrants on the Sea Dam. We collaborated with Ministry of Housing to have 20 house lots lotted out for migrants that are residing on the Sea Dam area. And this was all possible because of our president, the Honorable, and also our organization's president, Miss Indrani Ramnarai. We would have also collaborated with Ministry of Labor to talk about child labor and to offer guidance to our migrants that are seeking employment.
All right. Well, that is certainly good. I mean, we went into a little bit of your success stories and your positive outcomes, but I'm sure the housing situation is one of the things that you're happy about. Are there any more positive stories that you would like to share with us that you're happy about? As you reflect on the work that you've been doing. Let's talk a little bit about some more of those.
Oh yes, definitely. And I'm not sure if you can tell, but all of us at Educator's Pride are teachers or were teachers at some point in time. So most of our joy comes from interacting with the children. And I want to share this one in particular. We had started with this child in 2020 when she was in grade 3. And in 2023, that child wrote Common Entrance, a Spanish child, never had any exposure to English. And this child would have completed NGSA and would have been placed at a school gaining 80%. A Spanish child writing an English exam. And guess what? That was the year the ministry chose to translate the papers into Spanish. However, she was so confident in her abilities that she chose to write it in English. And she got 80%. She was placed at a grade B secondary school on the East Bank. And we at Educators Pride were so elated. It shows that something is being done there. That was one that we were really proud of, along with having 250 children in schools and getting them all the resources that they need, all the tests, all the evaluations done to ensure that they are comfortable with their living conditions, their schooling, just general. And just recently, we would have collaborated with the Ministry of Education again. They would have launched their mentoring program where we hosted the program at our end at Diamond Primary Top, where we involved all our children from Educators Pride and the CDAMs, and the program catered for 50 migrants However, we populated the program. We had over 80 migrants in the program learning for 3 weeks. Yeah.
All right. So you've been doing excellent, I must say, in
I
terms
appreciate it.
in terms of those services that are being provided, along with your partnerships. Of course, very important that we don't disconnect from the link with or the partnership with ChildLink Guyana, which is affording us this opportunity to have this
Oh,
conversation
definitely.
with you. Let us look forward now, Akash, about your future goals and probably some of the initiatives that your organization is planning to better support and integrate more of these migrants into our community, particularly the Venezuelan migrants. What do you have on the cards?
So we're throwing around a bunch of ideas now as we're planning for the new quarter um, for Educators Pride, and we are thinking about having a TVET center in our area, technical vocational education training for Spanish speaking persons, migrants, vulnerable persons, to learn a trade, to learn a skill, so that they can, they can provide for themselves, they can sustain themselves.
Mm-hmm.
That is one that we are throwing around. Also, one that we're throwing around is personalized or customized training for households. Well, when I say training, I really mean guidance and counseling and support, but for households on the CDAM, well, those that are still there. And of course, our work with children will continue. That will never change. It will only get better and hopefully bigger given resources. So yeah, those are three things that we're currently tossing around to see how best we can implement those in the coming quarter.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Akash from Educators Pride. Let's talk now about perhaps if I know you're linking with ChildLink and you have some other folks who have partnered with you. What about if persons, because after these discussions, people really would message and try to find out information as to how they can get on contact with groups. How does one get in touch with Educators Pride? Do you have an office? Is there a physical place, or do you have numbers, Facebook, whatever?
So definitely, we are very active on Facebook, Educators Pride. Also, we can be contacted via email, telephone, or on Facebook itself. Our telephone numbers are 687-8859. And excuse me, our office is only open on Saturdays
Mm-hmm.
at Diamond, and that's First Bridge. And you take the immediate right, and it's the fifth house on your left.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for sharing
Thank you
that
very much.
information with us. And I'm sure if persons would like some more, they can also make contact with ChildLink Guyana. Is there anything that you want to close off with before I invite back LaCria for the wrap up this morning?
Uh, Definitely. I want to say thank you very much for the opportunity for being on air. Thank you very much to Charling for affording us this partnership for us to maximize our potentials at Educators Pride. And I want to say to everyone, we exist in a world that is ever changing and
Oh,
nothing is certain. Let's be kind. Let's be kind to one another. Let's emulate what we want for ourselves and our children to come. So thank you very much again, and thank you to Charling. And you guys can feel free to reach out to us at Educators Pride for any assistance or resources that you require or you want to donate to our migrant population. We would welcome that. So thank you very much once again.
thank you, Akash, Educators Pride. And now we'll invite Ms. LaCria Rambalak to come back. She's the Communications Officer at ChildLink, and she's going to give a recap on today's discussion and perhaps include any other information that I might have forgotten to mention. LaCria?
Yes, thank you, man. Thank you, Akash. I think today's discussion centered around the commendable efforts of Educators Pride and the invaluable services that you guys are offering in Grove and Diamond areas, and also the understanding of the vital work being undertaken. These community-based organizations, they are doing so much work behind closed doors, and I'm really happy that we get these platforms or the opportunities to bring them on the radio or the television, on our Facebook lives, and let them speak out of what they've been doing and what their organization, like the services that they're providing, because a lot of persons don't know the services that these community-based organizations are providing. So I'm really happy that we get these opportunities to come on air, and we can share these information to a wider audience. And I feel like this discussion also was pivotal in highlighting the impactful contributions of the organizations, particularly in supporting the migrant families. You know, but I must say, Akash has listed all his contact information and how you can get on board with the organization. And we will probably try to link it on our social media platform too, if you wanted that recap. Because I think some person might know of Charling's Facebook and social media, Instagram, but let me retell you. So I like to encourage individuals to visit our Facebook platform, which is Childlink Inc., and our Instagram account, Childlink_Guyana. Feel free to follow us for updates on the information we've been sharing about on the projects that we've been doing. Additionally, you can share, and I encourage you, our listeners, to keep this conversation going. I really want to stress on that. Like, we need to help. We always need to lend our hands, that we're like, to persons who need it. I want to express my gratitude to Akash for dedicating his time to be with us this morning and discussing all that his organization is about. And also, I must not forget to the Delegation of the European Union in Guyana for funding this project, which is the Communities Responding in Emergencies project. And of course, you, Morano, for having this lovely discussion as always.
It's our pleasure, and I want to thank you, Lucrea, and Akash from Educator's Pride for affording us the opportunity to share with everyone as well all that has been done and what is expected and hoped to achieve later on in these conversations, bridging gaps and building bonds with migrant families, insights from a community-based organization. Thank you once again, and do have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.